could journaling improve the way you feel about yourself? Emma Draper is an example, a shining example of how journaling can improve your own self-love. Loving kindness to yourself and how loving we are to ourselves is a hot topic on Love Shortage. It's actually one of the questions. And I have been really taken back by this conversation that I had with Emma around the power of journaling. And she breaks it down. She goes through a method. She tells you the benefits of it and how it's made such a positive influence on her life. And it's really inspired me after having this conversation with Emma to get religiously journaling again.
So, I'm going to go straight in. Who taught you how to love?
My mother definitely taught me how to love, but it was not the sort of love I think you'd see from a mother like now. She showed her love by just being there. Very traditional, so she didn't say, "I love you, Emma, I love you," whatever. That come as she was much older, like in her 70s actually. But she showed me by everything that she did for me was done with aplomb. So she was made my bed beautifully and arranged my teddies, and she made all my clothes for me. She gave me all these little gifts and they were always wrapped beautifully. It was all with love, care and attention. She worked 6 days a week as well and ran the house. So I have no idea how she did it, but she showed me in those sort of more practical ways, because I think her family didn't show love enough. So she was hard, but she showed it me in gifts and beautiful little kindnesses. She taught me. Yeah, I'd say she taught me.
And do you know that making your clothes, do you think that's influenced you in regards to your love of clothes and love of fashion?
Yeah, 100%. My mother was always the most glamorous mother by 100 miles in any scenario. So at the school gate, wherever we went, she just always looked incredible. She made her own clothes too. She made her own wedding dress. There you go. That's pretty clever. So I can't make clothes, but definitely the love of fashion. She always looked the best. And it was just easy for her, I feel. And I used to watch her every Friday morning. She'd have her hair done. Like the world could end, but my mum would still have her hair done every Friday morning. And I used to sit there, okay, watch her. God, my mum's so glamorous. 81, she still doesn't leave the house without her lipstick on. And nor do I, George. So there you go. I rarely leave without any lipstick anywhere. I was very inspired by her. Yeah.
She your hero?
She is totally my hero. I wouldn't say I realised it when I was younger. And then I look back at her life and her career. She started a retail business when she was 19. And in those days, you couldn't get a bank account if you were a woman and under 21. You could if you were a man. So she had to use her brother-in-law's account and all this. And she set up a shop. Or back in the day, was that the late 50s, early 60s? And yeah, she was totally my hero. And she ran the family. She ran her business. She ran the financial side of my dad's business. But she was always there. Maybe she was at work a lot, but I knew she was there. So I thought, my gosh, all these women have this immense guilt about working. And I realised, possibly a little bit too late, but I realised that my mum worked 6 days a week. I knew how much she loved me and I was her priority. So actually, a lot of that guilt is really wasted because we have the most amazing relationship and she worked very hard. So she's my hero and she's still working. She still looks incredible. And she's always got projects on the go. I think that's the thing. I'm frighteningly like her. Yeah, she's my hero. Yeah.
What other loves do you have?
I love the countryside. I love being outside. That's really important to me. If I don't get outside, I get angry. I absolutely love art and visual things in my interiors, all things. Everything has to look nice to my eye. I think that's really important. I'm a very visual person. So I guess that's why I like being outside, because it looks beautiful. I like my environment to look nice. They're my loves, like art and just looking at beautiful things, whether it's flowers or nature. Obviously, my family, but I feel that's like a bit obvious. I do love fashion. I do love fashion. I love how clothes make me feel, if I'm dressed right. So, yeah, very visual, the things I love, I would say. And I love exercising because that, again, is a mood booster and makes me feel better about myself. And I like meeting new people like you. That makes me happy.
I think when I had the opportunity to go to your beautiful shop, Velvet in Brighton, I suggest everyone goes there. There we are, just as you a little advert.
Thank you.
It was apparent that you enjoy the visual of a shop, of what a shop feels like. And I think when you think of buying online and the difference between buying online, to get people in a shop these days, you need to have that experience. You need to, like, I love going to your shop. I love going to Oliver Bonus. I love going to them kind of shops where you're like, oh, this is just beautiful. This is just a lovely place to be. I think if you haven't got that eye, that's where, well, what we've seen, haven't we, with these big companies like Debenhams disappearing and all these, because it's like, well, what's the difference between going online and going into a shop?
Exactly. I think you have to walk in and just go, So that's how when I first opened the store, I'll be 25 years old next year. I remember saying to Mum, I just want people to come in and go, ooh. And you know, when you just want to look at everything and you feel inspired and you feel excited and you feel like, oh, this is nice. And it's always super important to me that it looks amazing, but you can touch anything. People are very comfortable to spend. Often people spend a couple of hours in the store. So, because it makes me happy to see the customers happy, the whole thing of creating a culture with the team to make people feel welcome. There's nothing worse than going in a shop when people are rude to you, or worse, look down at you and think, well, they can't afford it, or whatever patronising rubbish you get in some shops. But also visually, you know, it gives me enormous pleasure when I can see it's looking perfect, and my team are totally on board with that now. They're amazing at it. The shop, she's my baby. I do talk to her. You know, if I'm in there later than anyone else, I'll say good night and say thank you, shop, because she provides for, you know, my whole family. And I'm always count my blessings that I have a career in something I deeply love. I mean, it is fashion, it is homeware, it's not like deep, but then I think I give a lot back for the people that work for me and their families and my family. So we're all very close.
Yeah, and also you do a lot for charity as well.
We do loads for charity, we do a lot we have a different charity every few years, and we do loads for that. It's really important because, you know, especially when the shop is a success, we can share it. So we do a lot of pre-loved rails where 100% of the profits of that, not the profits, 100% of it goes to our chosen charities. So very important.
And you said then about it being fashion and clothes being a shallow thing, and I think I don't know whether that's true, because it can really make a difference to your self-care. It's I know when I've gone through difficult times in my life, like you could see, it's with the effort that I put in myself, you know. There's nothing quite lovely saying to yourself, well, I'm worth these clothes. I'm worth looking this good. Like, colour to me is a big thing, and when I wear colour, it has a marked difference on the way that I feel. So I think it can come across as just a sort of materialistic, like light thing, but I think fashion and clothes really, as you said, a sign of how you feel about yourself as well. The love that you can give to yourself.
Completely agree. And when we help women choose some women like to shop by themselves, but a lot of women want help. And it doesn't mean because you're a woman you know how to dress either. And we gently help people. We have personal stylists, but it's all free. And it's amazing how happy you can make a person when you find them the right outfit. So they might be worried about a certain part of their body, or they want to breastfeed, or they just like to have loose, or they want to look a bit hot. There's all different reasons. Job interviews, weddings. And I think the girls get a huge sense of satisfaction is when they've made a customer very happy. And you can see we get so many lovely messages from people because it is important to feel good. And I know when I'm worried or nervous or sad, if I put on my face in an amazing dress or something, my God, it's just like, I don't know whether it's like armor, but this is me. I'm okay. I'm good. I look good on the outside and then the inside might follow. I think it is a feeling that you're looking after yourself. You're caring about yourself. So yeah, not entirely shallow. No, you're quite right.
You mentioned about helping other people with the way that they feel. How loving would you say you are to yourself?
I've got a lot better. Because I realised if I don't care about myself, I can't look after my 3 sons and my mum and my team. It's a hard lesson learned, I think. Definitely had moments where I didn't love myself at all and got sick because of it. Didn't look after myself, run myself into the ground. But at the grand old age of 50, I think I sort of, yeah, I'm great. I love myself now. It's fine. I look after myself because I know if I overdo it, then I'm no good to the people that need me and love me. So I can safely say I'm very comfortable in my own skin now. It made me, as soon as that tick, that went over, I'm like, oh, it's a great feeling to love yourself.
What was the changing point then? How did that happen? Because there's probably somebody listening here that's like, when is my moment of me actually loving myself coming?
For me, I think I've never disliked myself. I'm always quite proud of what I've done and everything, but I think getting divorced, having to after having a big crash after the divorce, then I had to pick myself up properly because I had 3 boys depending on me and my other family, my mum. I've got another family somewhere, and my mum. I thought, right, I've got to sort myself out. I can do this, and it was a process. It was a process of a year or 2 where I built myself back up physically and mentally, built my business back up, and then I sort of stopped and thought, oh my God, I've done it. And I just suddenly, for the first time in my life, stopped and felt really proud of what I've achieved, and I could see my family were proud of me. And I think that was the thing. I guess sometimes it takes a horrible thing to happen in your life to make you realise that what you can do, what you can achieve, and also that you're all right. I think maybe I would have liked to have learned it a bit earlier. But there you go. I think we are way too hard on ourselves. I think I mentioned mother's guilt, and I wish a lot of people had told me that when I was younger, when I had my first son, who's 21 now. Don't feel guilty because he won't remember. He won't remember the first 4 years of his life, little snippets, but he doesn't remember you working hard in that. You were always there to pick him up. You always loved him. They don't remember all those things. And now they don't remember if I was late back from work so much. They remember the holidays and the fun things. And I wish we could drop a lot of the guilt with kids. I've gone off at tangents, but that issue is really important to me, and I know I've talked to you about it before.
I think it's not going off on a tangent at all. I think it's a valuable thing that a lot of women and men struggle with. And
men.
We all struggle with because we want to spend lots of time with our children, and especially with lockdown, a lot of us had the opportunity to do that. And it was it was awful for some people, but some people have changed their lives because of it. I know that for my family, it gave me the opportunity to really get to know my stepchildren. And I feel that there's a really strong bond because we had that time together, do you know?
Absolutely.
And they've got the same bond with Kitty, my daughter. So I think there's something to be said about time, isn't there? There's something to be said
time.
about time and the impact of time, and realizing that the magical times, such as holidays, such as days out, they are the ones that normally get stored in the memory bank with children.
They 100% they do. And I'm at the stage now where one of my sons is left home and two are teenagers. So they're too busy or not really interested in hanging out with me, which is very normal. But when they do, when they say, "Oh, Mum, do you want to do," or they sit down and talk to me, I will drop everything and anything, because I know those moments are golden now. And they maybe spend an hour with me, and it will be like, it's a lovely feeling, because, they're not small anymore. They've got social lives. So I think it's grasping those opportunities. And you're right, they remember the sort of often the special little moments. So I think creating those memories, because you can say, be at home with them all day and not actually engage properly. So I think I've learned that when I'm there with them, to be as present as humanly possible, because they know. They know.
And really being there is good for them, but good for you. Do you know? You get to wholeheartedly be in the moment with them. That's what our life is made up of, isn't it? Is moments.
Well,
so
absolutely. And quite honestly, if I'd have stayed at home all the time, I would have been a horrific mother. I would have been sad and depressed, and I have to have my career and my business, and then I can be a much better mum when I'm at home with them, because I'm fulfilled. I think, it's really important to acknowledge that, as a parent, you need to be fulfilled too.
Yeah, I think that is a really important thing. I feel that there's a going without sometimes that people do unnecessarily. But going back to what you were saying in regards to loving yourself and being more loving to yourself is about reflection. It's about reflection. It's like you had that moment and you went, hang on, I've done this. I've achieved this. I'm doing this. I don't think a lot of people stop and they go, from when I'm coaching people, if I hold the mirror up and I say, you've done this, you've done that in a positive, empowering way, people are, oh yeah, but that's what I'm supposed to do. They'll dismiss it instead of actually going, no, this is brilliant, and having them moments of reflection and having them moments where you can sort of pat yourself on the back.
Yes, I think it's so important, George. Again, something I've learned in later life. You're quite right. You need to just stop. So I write a journal, and have done for about 6 years. And I often write in there, I write a load of old drivel as well, and what's upsetting me, and get it all off my chest. It was an absolute game changer writing a journal. I've got books and books now. But what I often do is when I'm feeling like, oh, I'm procrastinating or I'm having a bad, I write down all the things that I've achieved in the previous few months or the first part of the year. And when you write them all down, small, you think, oh my God, I've done that. And so I've really, really conscious of looking at everything I've done. And weirdly, I only did it yesterday for January and February because I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. So I wrote down everything I'd achieved, and I thought, look how much you've done. Just take your foot off the pedal for a few weeks. And in the journal, I often write to myself, well done for dealing with this, or well done for doing that. Just be nice to myself, because life's not straightforward, is it? You know more than anybody, but it's good to say sometimes, well, I dealt with that well. I didn't deal with that one very well, but in future, I might deal with it differently.
I think that's really powerful. That's positive internal praise that you do to yourself.
Yeah.
And when you think about how that can build resilience, which it can, build your resilience, because you're not waiting for some, like, nobody's going to come and say, oh, well done. Well done. You're doing so well. You need to do that yourself. You need to be self-motivated. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'll steal that. Thank you very much.
It's George. I've popped in. I am trying something new. So one of the bits of feedback I've had from you is that you enjoy my take, that you would like to hear more of my opinion, and dare I say, have some tips and tricks and some coaching in this podcast, as well as listening, also coming away with some takeaways. Here are my top 6 tips for being a successful journaler. Number 1, be honest. Say exactly what is in you. All the things that you'd love to say throughout the day and you don't, get them out. Get all of that on the page. Number 2, gratitude. As Emma said, ending with gratitude is really nice. Starting with gratitude can also lift the experience of journaling as well. But gratitude is incredible. And one of the things that I notice, it's using gratitude to change your state. So I list the things I'm grateful for. And when I stop is when I start to feel the feelings of gratitude. Number 3, praise. I love what Emma was saying about praising yourself, looking back, looking at all of your adversity and giving yourself a pat on the back. And as I said, nobody's really, if you're an adult in this big world, no one's going to come up to you and pat you on the back. You've got to do it yourself. So praise is really important too. This seems really obvious, but number 4 is a safe place. Make sure you put your journal away so nobody can read it for 2 reasons. 1, because I don't think you can be wholeheartedly honest if you think, oh, someone might read this. Or for the person that is reading it, it might not be great for them because of point number 1 about you being honest. So make sure it's tucked away in a nice safe place. Number 5, be creative. Some days it's difficult to start writing, so you don't have to write. You can draw, you can doodle, you can even start writing a things to do list or a shopping list. Something to just get your juices flowing. It's not all about beautifully handwritten notes. It can be a bit of a scruffy mess, really. It's just the main thing is about you getting what's inside you out on the paper. And the last thing is start small. If you feel that you've got nothing in you, nothing to write, you could just write words. You could do a mind map. You don't have to think that this has to be a beautifully curated, fabulous piece of literature. It can just be words, a few sentences. Because even if you just put, I'm too tired to write, that gives you loads of insight in a couple of weeks when you're looking back. Because you can see, oh, I was really tired in that period. Well, this was going on and this was going on. And you'll start to really understand how much you can handle and what you need to maybe say no to in your life. So it's just about the activity. The activity gives you insight, not the output. The output is not about perfection. That makes sense. Okay, let's go back to Emma. Okay, bye.
The title of the podcast is called Love Shortage, because I truly believe that when you look at society and you look at the world and this thing that we talk about love and love, this being this romantic thing, that people don't really understand the true power of love. Love is a force. Love is a tool. So where do you think in the world there's a love shortage?
Well, I think, bizarrely, what we've just said is people, they don't love themselves enough. And I see this working with more close to home. I say I've got a team of 18 young women who work for me, and a proportion of them do not have any respect and love for themselves. And I find that really sad. They're really like, and it's maybe not just them, but I think a lot of women I know in my own social circle and men, this whole thing about not loving yourself, and they're like, oh, I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm crap, I can't, I'm forgetful, I'm this, I'm that. And you can often say to someone, yeah, but look at this, you're amazing at this, and you're brilliant at this, and you're a great merchandiser, you're a great runner, you're a great this, all these people in my life. And I think for me, my life changed when I started to love myself. And I wish other people could see their amazing qualities. People don't often see what they're really good at. Just at work, doing people's appraisals, when you say to people, oh, you're brilliant at this and you're so good at this, they're like, am I? Oh, I'm not. And you're like, but you are. I think that's my love shortage, people not loving them. I mean, there's obviously love shortage everywhere, but that would be the thing that I notice more close to home. And then obviously that manifests in complicated behavior if you don't care about yourself. So that could be tricky.
The next question is, how would you fix it? So I doubt it you'd be able to fix it for every individual. But in a nutshell, how do we fix that? So I think the first question is why? Why have we got a love shortage in the way that people treat themselves? Why do you think that is?
Do you think it's societal demands? Do you think it's like you're supposed to be good at everything? What can you possibly be? How can you possibly be good at everything? And then it's like, even like dating, if you're trying to meet someone, they can't be everything to every, they can have good points, but they're going to have bad points or not. I think it's really hard this day and age. And there's a lot of demands on social media and out there in the press. You've got to have, be super fit and don't drink, don't smoke, don't do this. It's like, oh God, it's a lot of pressure. If you're okay and you can just say, I just do my own lane, it's fine. But I think people are very influenced by what their friends are doing as well, what other people are doing, and then they measure themselves against other people. But then often other people, they're not really telling you all the story, are they? You don't know what they're dealing with in private. I think outside influences has a lot to blame for how people are very judgy on themselves. Very judgy, yeah.
And there's a link here, isn't there? This is interesting because we've got your internal praise secret that we're sharing with the world now. Emma Draper's internal praise, my secret.
Back yourself.
Yeah, back yourself and love yourself. So you've got that in, and there's no influence there. It's only your influence. So
true.
So it's all about how can I be my own influence? Because the word influencers, I'm going to be an influencer. There's so much people, you're influenced constantly, especially with parenting, the way you look. Yeah. There's always someone, if you watch some podcast, it's great to be a vegan. If you watch another podcast, it's a terrible thing to be a vegan. So there's like confusion as well. So everyone's confused, everyone's influenced. But if we, thinking about how we're going to fix it, if we get rid of that noise and become silent, and that's what journaling is about. It's about becoming silent, becoming still, listening, and having this dialogue with ourselves and no one else. And that's where love lives. When that noise, that love's a whisper. He or she or they, mine's a lady.
Mine too.
She's a whisperer. She's not she's not full on,
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, going back to the journaling thing, don't actually know what to do.
Yeah. When they journal?
Yeah, the struggle is, I got this book and I got a pen, and then they end up doing like a Bridget Jones, as in sort of like, today I went here.
I think it's all about flow with the journal. It's just like when your head's buzzing with stuff, I'll just say, I'm tired today, but I've done, it's not what I've done. I didn't go to Tesco's and I didn't do that. I don't write anything like that. It's more feelings and gratitude. I always finish it off with gratitude because it sets you up for the day, but it's just blur. I mean, if anyone read it, which they never will, it won't make sense to anyone. But then I read back and thought, and you can see where the dots join up, and that's when I start to love myself. And the key thing about loving yourself, once I started to really love myself again and not feel I was a waste of space, that's when my world opened up and my relationships with everybody in my life got better. I let people in again after being very hurt. I'd let people in, and once you let people, your world opens up, doesn't it? So if you can do that, it's quite miraculous. When I decided my lovely boyfriend wasn't out to get me, he's not, he's amazing. He said I had this big brick wall, this huge brick wall. And he used to say, well, I'm chipping away at each brick and see if there's a little space in there for me. And he was so right. And when that brick wall tumbled, no, it didn't tumble, it was chipped away. And I suddenly thought, he's great. I just need to let him in. I let him in, and the relationship, I mean, it's so much better, incredibly better. But it's the same with everybody in your life, your family and your kids. You love yourself, you let them in, you're letting them in. And that's, makes my heart hurt thinking about that. It's a beautiful thing.
It's also not an easy thing. So with that, it's shed loads of vulnerability. And trust, and the big possibility. This is the thing with love, the big possibility of being hurt, is being heartbroken.
Well, it happens all the time, doesn't it? And it might well happen to me again. And not just, in various other people in your lives can hurt you very badly, can't they? But if you don't take that risk, you're going to be sad and lonely, aren't you, I guess?
Yeah, it's about opening up, leaning in. When I'm coaching people, I'll sort of say to them, how can you lean in instead of lean back, So it's like, how can you go deeper? Where our instincts is to go, armor up, buckle up, step away.
Right.
I don't need anyone. And especially because you are so successful, and a lot of your success, although you've got an amazing team, you are the figurehead of that. There is a danger of you going, I can do this on my own,
Absolutely, George. I had a phase where I was a bit chippy. I'm all right. I just do it myself. I can do that myself. I can do that. Oh, I don't need anyone. And then that's so self-destructive. It's exhausting and self-destructive. And a few people close to me said, why don't you just ask for some help sometimes? We'd like it. I was like, no, you wouldn't. No, like it. I just myself, single mum, chippy. But when I did ask for help, it was lovely. And people want to help you. Very rewarding. Lean in. Let people in. Yeah. I love that, George.
Yeah, me too. I think that's a work in progress for me. That is a work in progress. When has love conquered all in your life? When the force of love has just taken over and solved all the problems, or made things better, maybe not solved all the problems?
When you just have to love somebody, regardless of what's just happened to them or what's happening in their lives, and they're having a very, very tough time. I'm talking about one of my children here who went through a very, very dark time and couldn't get through loving him. I just couldn't get through to begin with. But I think it was just being there, not talking, just sitting next to him, just being there and always being there whenever, I possibly could. And I think just that unspoken, because he didn't want to speak, unspoken bond got him over the first very horrific steps of what he was going through. It makes me feel quite emotional. He just being there, making him a cup of tea, just being around him until he could. And it took months, open up. And that was pure love, just pure love. He could feel it. I didn't have to necessarily say it, which I do, but he could feel it.
It's not about fixing.
I mean, I'd love to fix people, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you just love to go around fixing people? You can. You've got magic, George. You're like a magic being. But I don't have those skills. But sometimes you can't. You just have to be with people, I feel.
And that being, that force is love, energy, that sort of connection. You can't describe it. And you actually do very little to access it. It's almost you're taken over by this, like when I think of difficult times, especially in the hospital with Oshan and really, really hard stuff, and that's all's there. There's nothing else. There's nothing else there. Just that sort of current of love and connection and what it truly is to have the human experience and what it truly is to be a parent. And it's not about it. There is acts of love, like making a cup of tea, but it's the being, and it's going, being. I'm showing up today, and I'm not expecting anything from you. I don't want you to be a certain way. So that conditional piece is gone. There's no, there's no conditions around it. There's just pure love.
It's pure love. And it's like listening as well. I think being able to listen, but not necessarily them saying much to begin with, but just knowing that you are there to listen. I feel like, not a lot of people are like you. And that's why I think you're amazing at what you do, an amazing coach. Because when I first met you, you were just a ball of love, and everything you've been through, I've no idea how you're like that. So I'm hoping that you will spread this idea of, love around a bit more, because it's an amazing thing. Anyway, I'm just bigging you up for the direction.
A big away, I've got an ego the size of Asia. I love it. No, but I think that's why the whole idea of the podcast has come, because love and death is so close together, and you see the power of it, and you're just like, and then you see the lack of it. So you're just like, oh, let's start talking about this powerful tool that we've all got. Like, just think, your life is a reflection of the way that you are treating yourself. You're creating the external world that you are creating is just from, well, not just, but it's from them journals. It's from listening to yourself. It's from praising yourself. And these are all things that are free, that we could do to improve our lives. So, absolutely. It's needed work, my friend. Needed work.
It's needed work. And what you give out, you get back. I mean, not like you don't plan it that way, but when you've given out to people, or you so often get it back. Maybe not from that person, but maybe from someone else. It seems to me it's quite reciprocal in a way. And the more you can give, it's rewarding as well. And then you can feel it trickling back to you in other ways. And that's obviously, we all like to be loved, don't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Love. Yeah.
Oh, that's lush. Thank you for this conversation. It has totally lifted me up. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a great pleasure. I've loved it.
Oh, brilliant. And I hope people will enjoy listening to it as well. I'm sure I have this vision of people on the tube with big smiles on their faces listening to this. That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing?
Yeah. And then someone else catches that smile, and then see, we can change the world.
One person by person on the tube.
Lash.
Are you off to the shops to get yourself a journal? In my experience, the happiest and the most successful people like Emma have a journal or do some kind of daily inventory. For me, it keeps me honest. I know the behaviours that serve me. I know the behaviours that don't. And showing up for myself and being honest and putting pen to paper really helps me to serve myself. I can be my own coach, cheerleader, steward. I can love myself. And that, my friend, is what I'm here for. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. And if you've got any feedback for me, you can email me on georgina@georginajones.com. Or you can follow me on Instagram, which is InspiredGeorge. Or you can check my link tree out. That's on all of my bios, and then it's got all of my wild and crazy projects that I will be telling you more about in the coming weeks. So until then, share the love. Bye!